It's still smudgy, so I want to make sure I get you that 4K wrinkly 45-year-old over the hill advice. How you guys doing? Coming at you from the garage. That's right. So today what we're going to do is we're going to work on the ZR1 again. Today what we're going to do is attempt to get it started after installing the, I think this is a Nick Williams 102. I can't really confirm it. That's what Rami Zaidan of 2 Auto Solutions sent me. I think it's a Nick Williams 102. And also Greg Kong of Kong Performance sent me a cold air. This is a carbon fiber cold air that they sell for bigger throttle bodies, obviously coupled with the massive filter that comes with it. This is what it's going to look like in the car. And we talked about how the area is like not favorable. Like if you look at the area where the cold air sits on the ZR1, it's not favorable. It almost seems like it needs to cut out that whole area to be able to suck in fresh air, maybe give it a slight ram air effect at wide open throttle, but not much talking on this video. Let's get right to the installation. We'll show you some tuning stuff, nothing crazy, and we'll see if we can get it started, check for leaks, and if everything checks out, we'll begin tuning on it, see if we can do idle, slow rev. Now that I have a wideband in there, I can definitely dial in fueling and not necessarily stare at the short-term fuel trim data, even though that's probably the right way to do it. Eventually, I'm going to get to a point where I'm going to basically just command it to do stuff as opposed to relying on a computer to adjust. Okay, let's get the cold air installed. I would think it's this way. I mean, common sense, but the connector of the throttle body is here. So you would think it would be on this end, so this way. But if something's in the way, well, maybe it's not in the way. Interesting. Very interesting that this would hit right there. Okay, the reason I didn't film the throttle body installation because I had to get pretty creative and I had to kind of get 2 bolts for the bottom because they're button head, not hex head with a little flange. So I had to modify some bolts to get them to fit. So far so good. Okay, so one smaller one goes here. There's some psychos that like to hide the screw on the clamp. Like I don't know when that started. That's probably a good idea to have that facing up. And I know you guys are gonna go, well, what the hell does it matter if the clamp? I know, I get it, but I don't get it. Now this might have to all go in one piece, but we'll see. Okay, that's definitely gonna hit the hood. So, what do I have to do to make this guy work? All right, we'll play with it for a little bit. Okay, with the magic of editing, or no editing. It wasn't pretty. I had to do a lot of finagling, so I couldn't really film it. It's a little crooked. I'm not gonna get too crazy about it, but the throttle body sits down, then the cold air comes up and has to hug this radiator to clearance the hood. So there was a lot of finagling back and forth, and I had to take it on and off about 4 or 5 times. I'll probably get this guy a little more flat to make it more aesthetically pleasing, but for now I'm gonna put in the MAF sensor, the stock MAF sensor. Airflow faces, see, one side's blocked off. The other side has an area for it to sample air. So that, now this might be self-explanatory, but you know how many guys hit me up in the ticket system saying that the tune doesn't start? Like, that's my favorite. The tune doesn't start. I'm like, this car will start if it's 30% off fueling, Mustangs specifically. So you installed something incorrectly, and they're like, no. And the first thing I go to is, what'd you do recently? Cold air? Yep. Put a PMAS or JLT or whatever. I go, do me a favor. Check the orientation of the mass airflow sensor. Make sure it's facing towards the airflow. And when you don't hear back for like a day or two, and then all of a sudden you get a log in your email, you go, so like, that thing wasn't hooked up right, was it, bro? Like, hey, about telling me that I was right. You know what I'm saying? Okay, looks like it's sealed nicely. I'm hoping the stock belt works. Again, I'm not doing watt pulls, so hopefully there's enough tension on the tensioner to be able to hug the 2.3 pulley. If not, I'm gonna have to get creative with idlers and stuff. So for now, let's get the belt on the blower. The way you ride it, girl, makes the fellas go. Hopefully you get this shot. Yeah, there we go. Ooh, come on, Mike, stay up there. Work with me. Tight, but not the tightest. Let me see how much tension. It's pretty close. Looks like it's going to bottom out, and it might need a. Actually, it's definitely going to need a shorter belt. Okay, what I'm going to do is a real deal startup. So loaded a base file. Basically, I threw a little bit of fuel at the MAF curve because it is a bigger MAF, and I just flashed it. I asked Greg if he needed any kind of supercharger oil or anything like that. He goes, nope, it's already filled. So that was very nice to hear. This thing is weird. Like, you have to like disconnect it, key on, then put the thing in there, and then start the scanner. It's kind of funky how it works. So I'll get everything situated on my end. And again, it'll be a real deal startup. No, hey, you know, got it warmed up to 180 degrees, and you know, it starts perfectly the first time. We'll do it the right way. And yeah, let me see what else. The layout is good. Then there's like a channel config I have to open, and I appreciate the people that got me all that stuff. Okay, let's give her a start, see what happens. Hopefully everything goes well. So what I did was I threw about 7% at the MAF. Lambda is pretty good at 1.0. I'll see what the short-term fuel trims are doing, but let me just let that log while it warms up, and I'll look everything over in the engine bay. Okay, so to say I'm happy is an understatement. Camera's a little sideways, so you must forgive me. Trims are about 10% off, but again, on these cars, 10%, you don't throw 10% at it like a Coyote. Like a Coyote says, you know, if your short-term fuel trim is like 1.1, then typically I throw about 9% at it, you know, like 90% of what it's asking for. And the Coyote infrastructure and the operating system is so tight that when you give it 9%, it takes 9%. This car, I learned with Tom that if you're off 20%, give it 5. If you're off 10%, give it 2, and then creep up on it, and then take it for a drive. So that's probably going to be the next thing. It's good enough to drive. It's going to start raining in a second, which is good. It keeps me off of wide open throttle. I can do some dialing in on the MAF curve. Tune drivability. Make sure it's driving well. And the only time I'm going to go watt is on the dyno. Now I'm going to talk to everyone, Greg and all them guys, about belt size. Belt size is a little sus, so I'm going to have to either get a bigger idler, like I showed you guys, or I'm going to have to go ahead and get like a good Gates belt. Let me go for a drive. I might bring the camera with me just to see how everything's doing. Got to get some gas in it. It's on pump gas, and I lowered the timing to a max of 20. It's not going to see more than 20 degrees of timing, which I might have to bring down, but I am going to run Sunoco 260 GT. But anyway, let's throw some fuel at it. Let's take it for a spin. We'll see how it goes. Okay, got my cell phone out here because I wasn't planning on making video, but if you're going to put a 2.3 pulley on a Corvette, you get yourself a K120A25HD, you cut one rib off because K12 means 12 rib. K11 would be 11 rib, but you don't have them that available in this size. So a Fleet Runner, Gates, whatever, K12 A25HD, and you remove the big idler. That's right. You take the big idler off, you put the smaller idler on, and it should fit nicely. So just wanted to do that with the cell phone quick before I forgot. On the dyno, and it is hot outside. It is ridiculously hot. So I'm not really expecting a ton out of this car just based on the outside conditions and the available octane. The only fuel I was able to find is pump gas. I went all the way to my station up in Mexico, and they are out of 260 GT. So now I'm gonna have to make do with pump gas. So that means I'm not gonna be aggressive with timing at all. I'm probably gonna be in the high teens, low 20s tops. Just to see what it tolerates. I'll be pulling plugs, doing all that stuff in the middle, not to bore you, but just letting you know, it made 600 last time. So obviously I'm looking to make, I don't know, another 80 to 90 horsepower with a ported blower and a smaller pulley. But again, we're limited by the octane. I'm not gonna be able to shove 25 degrees in it or anything like that on regular 93, but we'll see what it makes. I'm here on the dyno, and take a look, read 'em and weep. It is hot here in Florida. 93 degrees. So she's a hot one. So we'll see what we can get out of her without blowing it up. The goal is to be, you know, make over 600, ideally 700 on Florida pump gas, and we'll see what it makes. So I got everything set up. Let me square her up. I'm gonna dial in some wide open throttle stuff because dialing in the cold air was a little more involved. So I'll be doing that first, and not until I'm done doing that, then I'll do dyno pulls. But for you, it'll be right to a dyno pull, so check it out. Okay, she's up on the dyno. She's a little slammed down because I have her nice and tight in the back. I'm gonna do a 4th gear watt. I already did some drivability stuff, and I think there's a tip-in issue that's throttle body or injector related. I'll figure that out later. On the dyno, I'm gonna do some watt stuff just to dial in the top of the MAF curve and injectors if need be. So, wide open to 4,500 in 4th. Look at the data, come back and keep creeping on up all the way up to 6,500. Okay, I'll use the phone for the dyno run. So the last dyno run, it made 600, 632, and we are well below that. Again, I'm not saucing it up. This is pump gas. So what I'm gonna do is dial in fueling first, all the way up to 6,500. Once that is done, then we'll play with timing. So let's see how many gains we get, if any. So red run was just now. Blue run was the previous best on a stock blower with a 2.5 pulley. Second run, about the same. Again, extending it out a little further, so it made typically more horsepower because I revved it to another 1,000 RPMs, or close to the previous torque. Again, I'm going to compare it to the previous one, which was 600, 638. So this blower, I think, once I start throwing timing at it, is really going to wake up. But again, this is all dialing in the fueling. It's about the cross, so it's all about dialing in the fueling and we'll see how everything goes once we get everything dialed in up top. It's still, I want to say about 10% lean, so I'll keep hammering it and see what results we get. Okay, making progress. 629, 610. We started at 483, 558, took a step back because I went too rich. Again, I haven't touched timing. 629, 601 at 5,800 RPM, so we're going to go up to 6,500. Probably not going to make any power above that, but we'll see. Boost. Let's see what she made for boost. She's at about 17 pounds of boost. IAT's 126, not terrible. So what we're going to do is now do a pull to 6,500, do not add timing, and then start adding timing. Okay, so I added some timing. Fueling is really good up top. It's seeing about 11.4, 11.5 air fuel. It seems to like it leaner, but I'm not playing that game. It made 625, 629. Again, everything has been done with the hood down for a reason. I want to see how much of restriction the hood is from sucking air into the actual engine bay. But let's go make a pull to 6,500, see what kind of power we make. I'm hoping we make close to 700 on pump gas. That's my hope. Okay, so we came in at about, let's say, low 600s, and we worked our way up to 690, 639. Now, this 688, then 689 number were back to back, hood down, yellow, hood up, purple. Hood up was about 140 IAT, purple. So what I'm gonna do now is let it cool down and see if we can get over 700. And then we should be done. But we've worked our way into a nice thing. This right here is fueling up top. Every single time I touch up fueling, it gets better. And you know, this is like, the low spot is like 10.9, and then the middle spot is like 11.5. So blending that has proven to be a bit of a pain in the butt, but that's above 6,200 RPM or so. But everything else looks really good. Again, my goal was 700 and pump gas. So if this thing makes 700 on pump gas with a port throttle body and a cold air, ecstatic, because that's 100 horse to the rear wheels on a Corvette. You know, it's like pretty serious. And once we get E85 in her, it's really gonna shine. Camera lady's using my phone because my battery died on the camera. So 690 it made with the hood up on a back-to-back pass, 686, so, or 688. So it's within the margin of error. So now I let it cool down a little more. We're gonna do a pull with the hood up. I'm hoping it makes 700. If it makes 700, that means there's a slight restriction in the engine bay, but I didn't really give it a good back-to-back because it was hot. So let's hopefully crest 700 and get the hell out of here. Again, pump gas, no race gas. I didn't get too aggressive. 16.5 or so pounds of boost. Seems to be burning pretty good. Pretty good. horsepower shy. I guess we'll wait. We'll wait a little while longer. Why the hell not? I want to see a 7 on that, so kind of hang tight, try to get that 700. Same exact tune, just gonna wait a little longer. Okay, looks like it cooled down a little bit. I don't know if we got front coming through, but the camera lady left me. So let's see if we can crest 700. Put the hood up. That's a sign from God, says, dude, stop. It's still running, I'm happy. It made 99 more horsepower than when I had it last time. Still logging, still logging. Let's take a look at the dyno graph. I still got this hump. I'll send the log to some tuning buddies of mine and we'll see what happens. So, here we go. So we got roll speed on the right. So we got 699 last time, hood up. I don't know what 589 is. That must be the last one. And 697 where we're ending it at. So I must have put up an old graph. Let's get the best graph with the 2.3 and the best graph with the ported 2.3 up on the screen. Okay, there you have it. So in blue is the most recent, 699, 637. Whereas before we're making 600, 632. So torque was pretty damn good back in the day, but obviously with porting, horsepower comes into play. That hump is weird. So again, better tuners than I on the LS platform will definitely get an email. But the fact that the car is still running, it looks like it might have just traced. So I wonder if it's belt slip or something. Well, I'll look at the log closely, but yeah, that hump is funky, so I'm not going to sit here and rag the car out. I'll study the data and go from there. But yeah, there you go. And insanely, whoa, this thing is sheesh. I made it worse. Okay, and insanely, I didn't even use these guys. These are the microphones. So an insanely busy day here. Had to use the phone as a backup camera. So the whole video shows you the install, some of the initial startup tuning, the belt, and the dyno stuff. Tried to get you everything in one video. Try to make it nice and tight for you guys to watch on your Sunday evening. So yeah, there we go. We have 100 horsepower, 99 horsepower gain to the rear wheel from a ported manifold, and I have a different set of tires on that are sticky, so it's not really a good back-to-back comparison. Maybe it brought it up, maybe it brought it down, who knows? But the fact that it's making 100 more horsepower than previously cannot be accounted for by the tires. So Kong, thank you very much. Greg, I appreciate you very much for hooking a brother up with a port. Rami Zaidan, thank you very much for sending your spare blower to Kong for him to port. Also, thank you for the throttle body, and Kong, thank you for the cold air. The two show sponsors have come through in a big way for the ZR1. Now I have a close to 700 rear wheel horsepower on pump gas ZR1. Gotta love that. 3,200 pounds. This thing is probably going to be in the low 6s, 60 to 130. So that's the goal, to get out there and go on a decent day, because it looks like it's about to rain for a little bit. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Thank you very much for checking out the video for a little bit. I'll try to get this uploaded and edited in a nice fashion so it's not too boring for you guys. But again, plus 100 horsepower from porting, throttle body, and a cold air. Can't beat it. Thanks for listening, guys. Talk to you later.